Hey, salut Joël, c'est Guillaume, ça va bien?
Hello, Guillaume.
Oui. Euh, T'es prêt à commencer, on va y aller.
Yes, sir.
Juste un petit rappel de lever vos mains virtuellement si vous avez une question. As a reminder, please raise your hand virtually if you have a question. Première question, on va y aller avec Anthony Marcotte. Anthony, c'est à toi.
Salut, coach. Retour à l'entraînement. Ça fait un certain temps quand même que tu n'as pas eu la chance de travailler à l'entraînement avec ton club. Il y a eu tellement de matchs au cours du mois de mars. À quel point c'est important d'abord du repos et aussi pour toi de travailler certains aspects, même si ton club va très bien.
Oui, bien, on a donné 2 jours de repos aux gars là, parce que les 5 dernières semaines ont été éreintantes avec beaucoup de voyages. Puis aujourd'hui, j'ai aimé la façon que les gars sont venus. Ils avaient hâte de revenir. Tu voyais que, tu sais, des fois, quand tu es trop souvent dans la même chose, ça devient redondant, puis tu perds un peu. Je trouve que les derniers matchs, on jouait bien, on avait des belles performances, mais on était un petit peu mécanique, l'enthousiasme. Le focus était là, ça c'est une bonne nouvelle, mais j'ai aimé l'enthousiasme. Aujourd'hui, c'est une pratique demandante, mais tu as raison, j'ai eu la chance de travailler. Les gars sont revenus à l'entraînement. Les blessés qui sont venus, Venmo, Belleville, Maïsac et puis Ilonen qui ont pu se joindre au groupe aujourd'hui. Donc, on a travaillé 2 portions de notre style de jeu on voulait travailler aujourd'hui. On a resté 1 heure sur la glace et ça a été mission accomplie.
Donc, des bonnes nouvelles de voir ces gars-là de retour. Est-ce que tu anticipes leur retour tous et chacun pour le match de jeudi ou c'est pas encore à ce niveau-là?
Oui, je ne suis pas encore à ce niveau-là. Il faut voir comment ils vont avoir répondu à cet entraînement-là, qui a quand même été demandant. C'est évident que dans le cas de Maïsac et puis Ilonen, on va prendre le temps qu'on a besoin pour 2 raisons. D'un, ils n'ont vraiment pas pratiqué pendant un bon bout de temps. Puis c'est des jeunes joueurs. Donc, on veut lui laisser les chances de reprendre le conditioning puis d'être capable d'avoir le timing. Fait que moi, il n'y a pas de rush là, pour des jeunes joueurs comme ça. Là. Ils ont des bonnes saisons, ils font bien ça. On va voir comment ils montent demain. Puis on va voir si on a le go aussi. Là. Dans le cas de Venmo et de Belleville, ben là, on parle à des joueurs plus vieux, plus d'expérience, qui là, ça va être un partenariat avec eux autres, avec leur style de blessure, de dire comment vous vous sentez pour jeudi, mais on va pas presser personne. Là, la réalité de notre calendrier en ce moment ne nous le force pas à le faire. On a 2 matchs, après ça, on a un bon break. On va les faire jouer, évidemment, s'ils sont capables, puis on pense qu'ils sont prêts. Mais ça va être beaucoup en partenariat avec les gars. Là.
Est-ce que tu anticipes un petit peu le changement au niveau de tes gardiens de but? Charlie Lindgren qui est encore là, Demchenko qui est là, Primo et McNiven avec le Canadien. Est-ce que ça pourrait changer sur les prochaines heures?
Moi, je n'aurais pas ça, Anthony, honnêtement. Moi, ils m'appellent puis ils me disent qui ils veulent puis comment ça c'est de même que ça fonctionne. Je ne vais pas trop loin dans mon raisonnement ou dans ma façon de préparer. Je prépare l'équipe pour la journée de la pratique, puis pour les gardiens de but puis les joueurs que j'ai sous la main. Fait que là-dessus, je ne sais pas. J'ai aucune idée.
Merci, coach.
Merci, Anthony. Next question, we'll go with Amy Johnson. Amy, you're up.
Thank you. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
I know some of this will probably be a repeat from what you just spoke with Anthony about, but if you could please just give us an update on some injuries. Do you expect to get some guys back in the lineup on Thursday?
Yeah. Well, first we'd give a couple of days off, Amy, to the guys. It was 5 weeks that was pretty drooling and demanding.
Sure.
So we felt that they could refresh, come in late on Saturday and Sunday and Monday to go spend some time and refresh. And I thought the guys came out really good. And the timing was good because Maisak, Ilonen, Venmo, and Belzil were clear for practice. So they got on the ice today with the group. It was a high pace, and a couple of things we want to work on that, we didn't get a chance because we played so many games, and we accomplished that. It was an intense hour, and let's see how the guys are doing tomorrow. The 4 injury guys that came back today at practice, let's see if we know how they're doing. But like I told Anthony, like on the Maisak and Ilonen situation, we're going to work with them and be patient. There's no rushing into getting back in the lineup, and we need them to be. We want to see how their conditioning is going to be tomorrow again, and it was demanding today for them. And we're not going to put their young guys that are in really good season. I think everybody's been happy the way they handled the pro and the adjustment. So we're not going to rush them in a situation if we don't feel they don't have all the workload that they should get. Every time a guy gets in the lineup, that's got to do with workload. In the case of Venmo and Belzil, they've been skating for a little longer they were skating when we were on the road. And it's going to be a partnership between me and them, and to see where they are and if they're comfortable. They're older guys, they're stronger, they have more experience. Again, I don't know who's going to play on Thursday. We're going to take it one day at a time, but definitely there's two different kind of group there. There's a group that you're kind of cautious, and there's another group where you kind of say, hey, you're good to go. You're an older guys, and we're gonna talk with them.
Coming off of the 2 games in Toronto, facing them now 2 more times at home, were there areas that you, despite the 2 wins in Toronto over the weekend, are there areas that you'd like to see your team come out with a little more improvements on coming into these 2 games at home?
I think that the first game was a 50-50 game for me. It wasn't a great game from our part. We give ourselves a chance to win, and we made some good play, but I think it's one of those games that could have went on both sides. I thought we reacted really well this second game. I thought we did the adjustment. What you're talking about, we did it on the second game. Really, really proud of the guy. And, I gotta be transparent when they're not doing well. I gotta be transparent when they're doing well. And I thought we adjusted. And even, it was a 2-0 game. It became a 2-2 game in the second, but there were a couple of single out plays that, for me, they don't dictate how we manage game or how we react. What we put the emphasis on, and that was my message after the second period, it says, we're good. It's 2-2, which is going to happen. I mean, it happened to the Hab yesterday, but I like the way we playing. I like the way we're doing things, and I know we're going to get our chances, and the results should be on our side if we keep that. And we did. We had really good scoring chances in the third and scored a couple of big goals. So that was for the weekend. Now, it's a lot of the same for me. A lot of the time, it's the message I have with the player, more of the same. Because when you have a something that works, the worst thing you can do is to look for something else. That being said, we're not perfect. We're still working on stuff, Amy. Obviously, a couple of things that I liked. We'll see how we shuffle the lineup too. But a couple of things you'd like to be even better. You always push the envelope. That's why it's hard to win. But I got to be our communication right now and our understanding of what we need to do. I think we're on the same page as coaching staff and players.
Just one last question for me, with the trade deadline finally passing yesterday and Hayden Verbeek leaving the organization. I guess kind of a 2-sided question. Was there a little bit of weight off the shoulders of the rest of the guys gathered today that everyone else was still there? And your thoughts on Hayden's performance this year and his trade?
Yeah, I don't think the guys, with COVID and obviously in the normal season, I think there's more move with AHL player.
Mm-hmm.
And now with the playoff, that's not, in sight. And so there's not as much as I think concern. Anyway, I don't feel it. And I think the guy felt it. That something can happen, but it's out of your control. And Aiden, this group, by the way, to your answer, this group, they like each other. They're passionate about each other. They take care of each other. You see it in game, Amy. They're there for each other. I mean, they put effort together. So I think they're happy that everybody's there. On the flip side, I think Aiden played really well. When he was in the lineup, he did really good. But we have some numbers of players coming back. So when Habs make a decision to do a transaction, there's a lot behind it that I'm not involved in. But I like Aiden. He's been a great guy. And first thing I said to him, how much he improved and how good he did. And he was pretty proud of himself. His attitude's always been great, even if he wasn't in the lineup all the time. And now I'm happy he's getting maybe a different look for the rest of the season, because everybody likes him and cheer for him.
Excellent. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Amy. On va y aller avec RDS, la salle de nouvelles de RDS. Je ne sais pas si c'est exactement. C'est à toi.
En fait, c'est Stéphane Leroux. Je ne sais pas pourquoi mon nom apparaît plus. Je pense que j'ai changé d'iPad, c'est ça la différence. Mais Joel, tu viens juste de dire un mot en anglais, là, with the playoff not in sight. Vous le savez officiellement là, qu'il n'y a pas de série. Comment on gère ça? J'ai fait une entrevue avec Toby Paquette-Bisson, puis il dit qu'ils ont reçu un courriel. Je ne sais pas si c'est quelque chose que vous ne voulez pas trop publiciser ou bien non, si vous savez hors de tout doute. Et là, il reste 10 games, mais on connaît la suite ou on ne la connaît pas? Là?
Ben, moi, je reste toujours... Je la connais pas vraiment, pour être franc avec toi, mais il n'y a pas eu de plan qui m'a été dit qu'il y en aurait. Fait que, à un moment donné, je laisse les dirigeants des équipes gérer ça aussi, là, mais c'est sûr que aujourd'hui, il n'y en a pas. S'ils nous appellent la semaine prochaine et nous disent hey, finalement, on pense qu'on peut faire quelque chose, bien, ça sera ça. Mais moi, je vais avec en ce moment, ce que j'ai à la ligne. Officiellement, moi, c'est ce que j'ai comme calendrier. Puis comme je disais la semaine passée, à l'interne, c'est pas la même chose. Je sais que vous allez me dire, mais on a créé des séries, puis des situations de séries, puis de playoffs, puis qu'on a fait, puis que les gars ont super bien réagi, puis que, by the way, on a fait un autre en fin de semaine, puis il va y avoir une réaction dans un mois, parce qu'on, une espèce d'enchaînement. Je le sais que c'est pas pareil, Steph, mais moi, il faut que je fasse ma job aussi avec les joueurs. Puis les joueurs apprécient, je pense, puis ça enlève du redondant aussi de juste jouer des matchs. Mais c'est évident que il y a beaucoup de situations qu'on approche qui c'est comme d'hockey de série. Puis ça, c'est l'affaire que j'ai dit hier, justement, à tes collègues de RDS, c'est que tu peux gagner au hockey, Stéphane, tu le sais, puis des fois, on l'a fait, je l'ai vécu avec des équipes là, où tu gagnes, mais tu ne gagnes pas de la bonne façon. Puis ce que j'aime de notre équipe, c'est qu'on gagne de la bonne façon, puis on gagne des matchs de série. On les joue comme des matchs de série, puis on répond comme dans des matchs de série. Puis c'est ça mon message depuis le début. Si on est en série, puis apprenez, puis si on faisait une série, puis quand on s'est trompé, on a bien réagi. Je sais que c'est pas pareil, là, mais j'ai pas le choix. Il faut que je fasse ce que je peux avec ce que j'ai. Là.
Sachant tout ça, quand on regarde l'historique, ça fait 64 ans que le club de hockey canadien, un club école, c'est le meilleur taux d'efficacité de l'histoire. Je ne sais pas si tu le savais, là, mais jamais une équipe a joué 769 dans l'histoire du club école du Canadien. Ça devient encore plus décevant, parce que vous aviez peut-être une équipe là, pour faire vivre à ces jeunes-là que vous voulez développer une run de playoffs qui aurait été incroyable. Là.
Oui, bien, c'est évident. Là, que le processus de quand on est arrivé, je vous parlais de bâtir un programme, puis de se trouver une identité, puis d'être bon à ce qu'on fait, puis tout ça, ça prend du temps. Là. Puis je vais être franc, Steph, je suis vraiment fier de la façon que les jeunes joueurs embarquent, puis les vétérans, de la façon qu'ils se comportent, mais c'est long. Puis je trouve qu'on a perdu une année à cause de la COVID, pour être franc. Là, on avait 3 ans pour le faire, puis on l'a fait en 2 ans et quelques, là, quasiment juste 2 ans, là, parce que si tu regardes les matchs de la fin de l'année passée qu'on n'a pas joué, puis ceux de cette année, tu les additionnes, ça fait comme 2 saisons. Fait que, c'était ça le but ultime, là. Je l'ai dit, là, bon, t'es-tu surpris? Non, je ne suis pas surpris parce que c'était ça le plan, c'était ça le but que j'avais. C'est ça que moi, je voulais. Maintenant, c'est pas fini, il reste encore des matchs, mais j'apprécie le partenariat avec les joueurs. Tu as raison, c'est décevant d'un bord, mais comme je disais hier, il y a tellement de choses qui ne sont pas normales. Je viens d'avoir une discussion avec quelqu'un, puis il me dit je m'excuse, c'est une situation qui n'est pas. Ben, c'est pas pareil pour personne. Personne n'a besoin de se sentir mal quand les choses vont carrer un peu avec ce qu'on vit là, depuis un an. Fait que, il y a une partie de moi qui dit garde, au moins, on fait ce qu'on a à faire. On contrôle ce qu'on peut contrôler. Puis je trouve que les gars sont très focus. Moi, je parle avec beaucoup de gars qui disent hey, c'est ce qu'on vit, c'est pas. Nous autres, nos gars, ils sont 100% investis dans ce qu'on fait. On le sent, on le voit, les performances sont là. Puis on se donne une chance de gagner. On va dire qu'on va tous les gagner. Là. Mais c'est ça notre but. Puis on ne lèvera pas le pied là-dessus en tant qu'entraîneur. Puis je pense pas que les joueurs veulent lever le pied non plus. Quand ça ne sera pas parfait, on va le dire aussi. Mais il faut avouer que les gars font exactement ce qu'on a fait sur le clou. Ça fait 2 ans, même si c'est 2 ans et demi à cause de. Mais moi, je constate que ça fait 2 ans qu'on les coach là, en jour de hockey. Là, fait que, je ne savais pas ce que tu m'as dit sur le meilleur. Je ne le savais pas. Je ne suis pas un gars qui regarde ça. Je ne suis pas sur ces réseaux sociaux. Je ne suis pas là-dessus. Mais moi, je vais avec ce que je vois. Puis ce que je vois, je trouve que c'est ce que je voulais.
Dernière chose, tu n'as pas parlé de Kyle Fleury dans tes updates de blessure. Il arrive quoi avec lui?
Ouais. Ben bon, dans le cas de Kale, là, sans rentrer dans les détails trop, c'est quand même des bonnes nouvelles. On espère que ça va continuer et qu'il va être rapidement sur la glace, mais je n'ai pas encore la date exacte où il y a encore des petites cases à cocher. Là. Mais tu sais, quand je vous ai dit après sa blessure, on va se donner 24-48 heures, mais ça a finalement pris genre 72 heures. Là, parce que des fois, quand une blessure arrive, Steph, tu sais, on voit, c'est comme ça, mais c'est bizarre, puis tu as besoin d'approfondir un petit peu. Puis on trouve que le scénario est positif dans le cas de Kale. On est très content. Surtout que là, on a 2 matchs, mais après ça, on n'a pas de match. Il va nous rester plus des matchs vers le mois de mai. Fait que, tu sais, on target, puis on l'espère. Puis je ne peux pas te dire 100% ou pas, mais pour nous autres qui reviennent jouer les 8 derniers matchs, exemple, ça serait un très bon scénario. Là, on est vraiment content de sa progression. Mais j'ai pas de boule de
vraiment
cristal
vraiment la culbute devant votre banc, là, c'est ça, là, hein? C'est vraiment quand il était mis en échec.
Oui, c'est l'incident. Il n'est pas revenu. Exact. Il n'est pas revenu après cette mise en échec-là. Là. C'est une mise en échec qui est bizarre parce qu'elle est contre-coup. Là.
Merci, Joël.
Merci, Stéphane. Okay, next question will go with Grant McCagg. Graham, you're up.
Hey, Joel, this is a fairly long question. Just yesterday or the other day, you were talking about, Guy Carbonneau was like a great scorer in junior, and then he ended up becoming like a fantastic checking center in the NHL. Scouts often, when it comes to the draft, they try to project where a player will play in the NHL, and they'll like, even if they think they might be a third or fourth line guy, they still want to see production from him at the junior level. Like Carbonneau, third round guy, comes to the Canadiens despite being such a high scorer. They had LaRouche and Mondu and Wickenheiser, who was a first overall pick. They just were like, he wasn't going to be a top two center with those guys ahead of him. So he goes to the farm team, and they develop him into a checking center, but yet his stats for those 2 years were like 88 points and 94. So obviously, it was while they were teaching him the defensive end of the game more, he was still producing. Now, when it comes to when you're like, there's guys that you say, well, he probably projects to be a third or fourth line NHL guy if he makes it. So when he's at the AHL level, do you put him on a checking line per se, or is it more likely that he's going to end up being, in the top six and doing both? You want him to be able to produce at the AHL level before he makes the NHL, and he's learning the defensive side of the game, yet playing in a top six role because you think that he can make the NHL.
Okay, that's a good question. On Guy Carbonneau, I agree that he didn't have the stats and the junior, but he's Hall of Fame. Like, he's a guy that scored, goal in the NHL too. He wasn't just a checker. It would be wrong to say he was just a checker. He was an overall 200-foot player, and I had the chance to play with him in Dallas at the end of his career. He was quite the player. So I don't think Guy Carbonneau is a checker, because you don't get into the Hall of Fame being a checker, but I know what you mean by it. And the way I will answer to you is, you need offense from all four lines. I don't think as an NHL player, you can go in going, well, it's not my job, I'm just a checker. If you this in 2021, you're done. You're done. You can't do that. We're not there anymore. I remember when we were in World Junior a few years back, and, we wanted offense on all four lines, and and I know it's not easy, but you got to get as much offense as you can. I do not agree even for a defenseman to say, well, it's not my job. It's your job. And you should push yourself to get as much offense as you can as a player. Because I tell you what, you're going to be, as a player, as an advice, I've lived it. If you don't have stats, you're easy to push aside. If you have a few goals and a few assists, and it might be a point that's important in the game. So my job is not to say, well, you're just a checker. Far from it. Is to give you tools to have real offense. And that's the difference. That's where scouts and people that are good hockey minds can realize what is real offense is when it's fake offense. Meaning that two guys can have 75 points in junior, could have 35 goals. One is fake offense, one is the right offense. And both guys will be drafted, and right away as a junior, this guy will not be offensive in the pro. This guy could be offensive. And let's call spade a spade. You get 75 points in junior. Offense for you might mean 25 to 30 points max. And I mean that, like, when I hear guys that, oh, he's an offensive guy, he's got 57 points in junior, he's not an offensive guy for the pro. Offensive guy is a guy that 100 points. You know what I mean? Like, to get offense in the NHL, like, you need a full package. Now, that being said, when we get guys that are here, they're not exceptional in ways that you have Connor McDavid, they go to the NHL straight out, and we all know it. But the other guys, they need to be good on 200 foot. Now, this is the difference. How can you create offense from a bunch of different things? Execution, reading the play, defending brings you offense, because, you provoke turnovers, and a lot of goals are scored on turnovers. Look at the game last night. So to me, it's just to get a complete player, and after give him tools to even score more goal, meaning that shooting selection, where to be on the ice. And we give the guys all tips on that, because the difference between scoring 7 goals and scoring 12 goals in the NHL could be $1.5 million at the end of the day on your contract. You know what I mean? Or even a contract and no contract. So I disagree with bringing a guy to the minors and say, you're going to just be this because that's what you're going to be. you got to push their offense all the time. Some guys have it and some guys don't have it. And that's the unfortunate thing about drafting is, you know, we draft guys at 17 years old and, you know, we expect something or we want something. And sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. And sometimes we're right and it doesn't work out for a different reason. So trying to explain to you my philosophy on it, but I think we need to get away from, oh, he's just a checker. If you're just a checker in 2021, you better be a hell of a checker because you need to make some plays at time. You need to make those plays in tight. You need to provoke some offense to bring some scoring chances. You have to. You can't just be one and done and just have a good stick. It's not good enough.
I know earlier in the year I brought up like Josh Brook in junior was quite effective on the power play by the end of his and you you mentioned that you know, you don't see him being a power play guy at the NHL level per se. Yet you know, you've given Xavier Ouellet and other guys power play time where, you know, to be honest, like to be truthful, they're probably not going to be power play guys at the NHL level either. You know, I mean, he's 27 years old and has never scored more than 30 points as a pro player. I'm curious why he hasn't been given more opportunity at the HL level to play some power play to see if he does have that offense that where he could maybe be a second power play guy in the NHL someday.
That's a good question. You had a good question. So I'll explain to you how it works a little bit in some way from a perspective on teaching and developing a player. Okay. When you build a house, you build it from the rooftop? Do you start with the roof? Like you start the roof, you put the roof down, or you start with the foundation? Would you say foundation or roof?
Right. Well, foundation, yeah.
Foundation. Okay, so we got that. So what's the foundation of a defenseman? It's defending. Okay. So there's so many minutes you can give to a guy, and then there's so many, and to be honest, Brooks has been on a power play now for 2-3 weeks at times when we don't have guys. And there's guys that need some workload, meaning that they need the workload, the charge of work, like to be able to have the pace, to be ready to go on and to have that kind of stamina to be to the NHL. So Xavier in the minor league is a power play defenseman. And Brooksy in some way for the minor league, he could be a power play, defenseman. But what we're very proud about Brooksy and what you should be asking me is not why, you get number power play, how much better you got defensively. Like, I think Brooksy's has some game where I think he's strong defensively. And I would not have said that. Listen, look at my stats in junior. I had stats. I won World Junior like twice. I had like numbers. I would go like I had offense. I wasn't a power play guy in the NHL though. So I figured out quick enough that that's not going to happen. My shot wasn't good enough. My poise wasn't good enough when I first, I was a good defender. I was a good PK guy. So what we have in junior is a reflector. Guys get points in junior for different. I was a good skater. I could get points in junior. They weren't realistic for the NHL. You know what I mean? So you got to figure out pretty quick that what's going to be your bread and butter. And I think with Brooksy's being a 200-foot defenseman and being defending strong and being what he's becoming right now is his best route to become the best. And to be honest, we're really happy and proud of Brooksy. He's doing really well. You need to be a power play guy. You need to have some attribute that are for the next level. We're talking the next level. And I'm not saying that maybe at 26, 27, Brooksy would not be. As of right now, I'd rather have the foundation, and that's what he's doing. That's why I'm so proud of him. He's got a strong foundation as he's defending. The Brooksy today and the Brooksy from last year, we're not talking the same guys. Like he's evolving, he's maturing. I'm actually really proud of him, the way he's been playing and the minutes he's been getting. And that's the other thing. Like he's getting a lot of minutes. So, and he's getting good minutes that makes him better. And he still gets offense. Look, he's getting some points, right? He's getting some points. And when we have a chance, we put him in the power play. He was in the power play for the last couple of weeks. So I think that the track of Brooksy's been really good, to be honest. Really good. And who knows down the road, And that's why we put him on the power play lately. But to give him the power play right away, he's not a special. Like Caufield is different. Caufield is a power play specialist. You know what I mean? Like right away, you put him there. That's his job. We got to work with him. On Brooksy, we need to work on the foundation, and credit to the player. He's been doing it.
He may be your most improved player this year. Would that be fair to say?
If you ask me, I think this year he did improve from where we had to set him out. He's done really well. But I would say if you look at the bigger span from the beginning of last year, his structure in his game, his handling of the lot of part of the game. You're right. He's been. I mean, I don't like to say he's the winner, but he's been improving. I agree with you. I mean, everybody, we all see it. I think he sees it. Being defenseman is hard. It's hard, and no, I since last year, I would say I'm very happy. Let's put it, I'm happy the way he's progressing, like really happy.
All right, thank you, Grant. Merci, Joël. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Il y a plus de questions.
Merci beaucoup.
Et bonne journée, coach. Et bonne journée à tout le monde.